You notice we've been taking some data. We've been conducting a couple of different experiments. That gives us different kinds of evidence. And so what we can do with the reasoning tool now is we can provide some evidence for why the weight might change and link it back to this part of the claim. So today we use the reasoning tool to help the students kind of structurally organize their thoughts after a simulation that we performed and tabulated data for. We had data for both the relative weights of objects at different celestial bodies, and then we also had a table for the mass and whether the mass changed or not. So if you think about the reasoning tool, what does it do? It gives students a graphic organizer to unpack an idea they have in their head into these bins. I think using the reasoning tool is an authentic model of how science actually transpires. Ultimately, if you're going to make a compelling case to the scientific community, you need to unpack those ideas in a systematic manner. So let's say the question is drinking soda unhealthy? Okay. And somebody might quickly say, yeah, it's unhealthy. Don't drink it. Okay. Right now, that's just a claim. That hasn't been supported at all, right? If you want students to ultimately, independently think about scientific argumentation, I think it's important that you model to them how you organize those core elements of argumentation. We want to be as convincing as we can with the explanations that we have. And to do that, it's more than just saying a claim. It's backing that claim up, and it's backing that claim up with evidence. There's also evidence that acids inside of the soda will cause your tooth enamel to wear down, okay? So that's two pieces of evidence. But are we done? Am I done saying you shouldn't and I gave you two pieces of evidence? So it's not enough to say a claim, no matter how loud you say a claim. And it's not enough to say, well, yeah, there's some evidence here and there's some evidence there. Ultimately, what you have to do to make a convincing argument is you have to take that evidence and you have to tie it back to the claim. You have to compel the audience that this particular evidence really speaks to this claim, okay? So I'll give you an example. The acids in soda wear down tooth enamel. Okay, fair enough. But if I go further and I say tooth enamel is very important to prevent cavities, and if tooth enamel wears down, then you're going to have a greater risk of getting cavities in your teeth. Now I've provided a link between the fact that the tooth enamel wears down and the claim that we shouldn't drink the soda. Does that make sense? I actually bridged the gap between the evidence and the claim. This can be daunting for students at first. They're looking at their reasoning tool. They got a lot of information laying there. Where do I get started? Often that's the hardest part. It's overcoming that initial activation energy. And so I like to walk around just brainstorming about what these various pieces of information might be classified as. And I find that often if you simply kind of help them get the ball rolling, then the ideas start to flow. What would you say your claim is?
I would say that mass and gravity are different, and that gravity is pretty much something that the force and the pressure depends on how much the pull of each planet is. So.
Okay, and so you're starting to get into your reasoning there as well. So your claim is that mass and gravity, or is it mass and weight, are different?
Mass and weight are different things.
Yes, nice. Mass and weight are different things. That's your claim.
Yeah.
And then what is reasoning and evidence to support your claim?
The gravity pulls and pressures each object, and mass will just depends on how much stuff each object has, and it will never change, no matter on what kind of gravitational pull it has. For students, writing can be very difficult because oftentimes thoughts can kind of get entangled, and I think that the reasoning tool in a way can promote more structurally sound and organized writing. This is kind of the capstone, okay? We used the reasoning tool a couple times. That was kind of a scaffold. That was kind of like a tool to think about argumentation in this more structured claim, evidence, reasoning framework. But now we're going to go back to more of an open-ended response, okay? And so the idea is that using
what we've learned about argumentation and what we've learned about gravity and the difference between weight and mass, try to put together an explanation now on this paper and do so with the argumentation language that you've been using. When it comes time to actually put that final argument together, I coach the students to refer back to that reasoning tool and look at how they sorted their information. When students are writing, I often circulate, and you find that over the first few minutes, they're not writing a lot of words down on that paper. It's kind of hard to get started, okay? They kind of sometimes need that initial first push. Part of why they need that first push is because they're staring at a lot of information, and they really don't know where to begin in terms of trying to make sense of it. Would you be convinced if someone just said the ball weight does not change? No. You wouldn't. So try to be convincing here. So that imagine you had like a hypothetical audience, and you're going to try to compel them to think that your claim that the ball weight does change is in fact a legitimate claim. So how might you make it more convincing? Hey, Joey.
Yeah.
We're kind of stuck. So Vanessa's got a claim right now. Her claim is the ball weight does not change. So do you guys by chance have any evidence that might back that up?
Here, you can go through this to the reasoning tool and see if there's any reasoning.
Okay, so as we finish up writing about gravity, would anybody be willing to explain whether or not the reasoning tool was helpful as they constructed a written argument about gravity? Abu?
Gave me 2 points to work from, like 2 islands. I could just build a bridge from both of them. The first island was the evidence, the second island was the claim, and the bridge in between was the reasoning.
To support students in writing with the reasoning tool, I model reasoning tool use, help students reason, I introduce argument writing with the reasoning tool, and finally coach students to develop their written arguments.